This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week.
I'm Ken Davis, an Education Officer at the Rutland Osprey Project in Linden.
And this is this relationship you have with Rutland schools, particularly primary schools, has always been so strong.
Yeah, we've really developed it over the last 3 or 4 years. The education section now, there's three retired teachers who have really put together a brilliant programme, Jackie and Pete Murray and myself. And especially at this time of the year, we find that schools are really keen to come and visit the Osprey Centre at Linden. Plus, we go into their schools and talk to them about the ospreys and other wildlife as well. But principally, the main interest here, obviously, is the osprey breeding pair in Manton Bay and the story of how they got there and the great success of the project.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
Well, Steve, we've had the fly past, we had the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, we had the Red Arrows, floats going around town, and actually there's an aircraft kind of on this float. This is the Danish Invader. I'm here with Chris Needham. You've gone to town on this year, haven't you?
Yeah, we've gone for the serving community theme. So we've got 100 years of the RAF, we've got the air ambulance, and obviously it's the pub's 50th birthday this year, so try to incorporate everything really for it. So looks pretty good.
Well, I think so too, yeah. And the Danish Invader, obviously, with the Viking theme, you know, here you are with your headgear.
Yes, it's not the warmest today, or coldest today. It's quite warm in this, but
yeah, you're a bit furry, yeah.
It's
true.
Yeah, but all part of the show, and it looks good. So, yeah, here we are. Brilliant.
And obviously, you've won before. You're looking, hopefully, for another win.
Yeah, we got the best entertainers last year, so but this year we'll take what we get, or we're just happy to be here. So, and the Pim's tent as well. So.
It's a fab day, though, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. All the kids, I think we've got 40 children from the pub, all their parents and grandparents. So, yeah, couldn't be any better. So, but they're all loving it, as you can see. So, yeah.
Chris, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio. Okay. Good luck for the afternoon.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Cheers.
Rutland Radio.
Thank you, Steve. Well, floats going around the town between 2 and 3 this afternoon. I'm here with Lisa Merriman from the guiding float. Now, presumably, all these pictures of famous
ex-members of guiding, yeah.
So we've got Nicola Sturgeon, we've got Kate Middleton there, who, of course, is now the Duchess of Cambridge. The Queen,
The Queen herself is somewhere. Yeah, there's lots.
And I suppose serving our community, you know, that's so much about what you are.
That's what guiding's about, hence the guiding float. Rather than another theme, we do serve the community, so that's what we've done.
Excellent stuff. And if people would like to join you, I guess it's the waiting list, like everything, isn't it? It's a chicken and egg thing, getting more adults involved, getting more children to experience it.
There's a waiting list for girls. There's no waiting list for adult volunteers, so if anyone would like to, get in touch.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
Oscar, Ruby, Sienna.
Now, we're here at the Linden Nature Reserve. What's so special about the reserve here, would you say?
The ospreys are, I think, the only bird in England that's so special, I think.
What have you learnt whilst you've been here today?
We've learnt that their talons can go forwards and backwards, which is the only bird in the whole world. There's like 10,000 species of them. That's the only one that can do that.
I'm pretty sure the name for that is zygotilip.
And what about the Osprey project here and the birds that are here at the moment?
They migrate and then they come back here and they stay here for a while. They can go back and forth, so it's like a cycle until they make chicks and then they do it.
And they're all related to the two that arrived here long before you were born. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's incredible.
So being here today, you really want to get more involved, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's my first time seeing a live osprey and I just love it.
What's so special about the osprey, do you think?
They're so endangered, and the only other place in this country that you can see one live is Scotland. So it's so special that we live so close here to actually be able to see them live.
Did you actually see them today while you were here?
Yeah, we got to look through our binoculars and telescopes. Well, I wish I could see them. Closer up.
You want one to land on your arm, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think it quite works like that.
We saw 4.
But that's magical, isn't it?
Yeah, it truly is.
Rutland Radio.
I'm Richard Chesterfield and I'm the station commandant at Kendrew Barracks.
And here we are at the start of Armed Forces Week. Rutland actually commemorating all that's happened with the armed forces and all that's still to come here. It's such a big part of Rutland still.
I believe that we make quite a contribution to Rutland. There's a large presence. There are probably something like 1,450 soldiers here, and you add in the families, the contractors, and their engagement with society, and it's a brilliant place to be. Thoroughly enjoyed Rutland, and I hope we add to the warp and weft of life.
As always, things are changing. Kendrew Barracks, one of the largest army bases in the country? Or about to be?
It's a significant site, and there is a plan that over time we'll see the brigade headquarters move in, and hopefully the military working dogs and all their kennels and all their vets will come and find and make Kendrew their home.
And St George's Barracks obviously changing, and you have actually got a battalion who are leaving this Christmas.
Yeah, the medics, they're being redeployed throughout the army. It's one of those things that happens from time to time. We'll be sad to see them go.
But they will all be deployed into various different battalions and regiments.
That is what I believe. I'm not close to that, but I think they'll all have a home if they want it.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
I'm Sarah Furness, I'm Lord Lieutenant of Rutland.
And today, marking the start of Armed Forces Week and marking the military presence that we have in our county, it's still very significant.
It is indeed. I mean, we've had a presence since the Second World War with the two air bases, and indeed their legacy lives on because we have many veterans of the RAF living in the area, and they do a tremendous amount for the community. We'd be much poorer without them. But we also have both Kendrew, which is set to be the largest army base one of the largest in the country, and certainly in the whole of the eastern region, and we have North Luffenham, where we have the military working dogs and the medical regiment, which sadly is leaving at Christmas. But their expertise will not be lost. They are being distributed around medical units in the country.
And it must be a great honour for you to lead today's tributes to the armed forces.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I think one cannot underestimate the role that they play and have played. It's not just a question of them going out and being capable of fighting, and indeed fighting, but they do so much in terms of peacekeeping, in terms of training, all around the world. Over 40 countries we have presence in, and that has a tremendous knock-on effect in terms of diplomacy and in terms of our standing in the world. We are sort of seen as a paradigm of a democratic, civilised, stable kingdom, and that's because of the amount of work that's done by our military.
And I know you look to the future in your speech as well with the cadets on the 13th of September at Catmas College, an evening where you can find out exactly how they operate, and of course you have your own cadet.
Yes, I do, and I have three cadets, an Army, Air Force and a Sea Cadet, and I'm very, very impressed with what cadets do and what the cadet force does for them. I think they gain a confidence, they get marketable skills. They don't have to go on into the military. In fact, many of them don't, but they are very much better citizens, and they're also very much more employable. So I'm absolutely behind the cadet force. And on September the 13th at 6 o'clock in the evening at Catmas College, we're going to have the investiture of the new Lord Lieutenant's cadets and the handover, and we're also going to have an exhibition and cadets there, and I'm hoping some army presence so that people can think about joining the cadets. And so I would urge anyone to come along. It would be lovely.
Rutland Radio.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. Do you have a dog that likes to go for the letterbox? You can imagine how tempting it is for a dog when they spy stuff being posted through, and maybe it's threatening. I don't know. We're here to explore all that with Dr. Sean Davis, who's Global Director of Safety, Health, Wellbeing and Sustainability at the Royal Mail, and Alan Quinn, postman from Royal Mail, who has direct experience of actually a dog attack. This is really disturbing stuff, isn't it? I mean, some people may make light of, beware of the dog and this kind of stuff, but Alan, starting with you, it must have been, the most terrible moment, and in your case actually ended up with pretty awful consequences as well.
Oh yeah, it's certainly the worst experience that I've had with Royal Mail anyway. I ended up in hospital and was off work for the best part of 3 months.
So what exactly happened? Presumably it was literally just as I described, you're posting a letter through and there's a dog the other side, and a German Shepherd at that.
Well, it was a wee bit different to that. It was actually the owner was normally quite responsible and had a post box outside the house, and just as I posted the mail through the door. Unfortunately, that particular day, the dog wasn't quite secure within the house, and it managed to get out the house, get out the garden, and got me out in the street, and bit me repeatedly in the arm and the top of my leg.
Sean, from a Royal Mail point of view, I guess your job is kind of like the health and safety side of things, really. Just, making sure that those who are doing this job, which is a vital service, are actually looked after and protected as best they can, because, they're in the wider open community.
That's quite right. Yeah, we just to kind of give some context, 2,275 attacks in the last 12 months, which is 44 per week. And as you said then, the safety aspect is very much front and centre of what I do, but then there is the other aspect of it. Long after the physical scars have started to heal, the mental scars and the anxiety and the mental health support that's needed is there. So there's a multi-dimensional approach to it. There's the immediate attack and dealing with the safety aspects and infection control and the absence related with it, but then there's the ongoing mental health support, which probably people wouldn't think about.
And it's a tough job when it comes to it, isn't it? The amount of mail that comes through these days, people relying on, say, internet shopping as well as the bills and stuff. They've got a fair weight to lug around, post people at the best of times.
Yeah, so they do a very, very fantastic community service to our people, and really, I'm personally really proud to work for Royal Mail, and I know that our postmen and women are, and I think the work they do is fantastic. When you think about it, we deliver to 30 million addresses six days per week, from kind of one end of the country to the other, and the contribution that they give is fantastic, and we need to make sure that they're kept healthy, safe and well when they're at work.
Do you happen to know offhand whether our area is worse than any other? I know it's not necessarily the worst, but the LE and PE postcodes, how do they fare?
So you are out of our top 10. So we have a kind of top 10 of areas that we're focusing our efforts on. And when I think back to last year, because we've been doing this for the last 6 years, and I do know that last year the PE postcode was an area that we were looking at, but this year both the LE and the PE postcodes are areas that we've seen some really improvements in.
I know you've got some tips as well that you'd like to appeal to dog owners really to think about to keep their dog under control, and when that post delivery happens, because I suppose looking at from a dog's point of view, having someone approach that they don't necessarily know, and someone on their property, and not only letters going through the door, but even before that, hearing the footsteps, hearing the knock of the door, maybe the lifting of the letterbox. It's all stuff that some dogs are really sensitive to.
Yeah, so we have got some tips on our website, so that's royalmail.com/dog awareness, and these are low cost and no cost options. So it's things like perhaps feeding the dog or giving it a treat or a toy to play with at a time when the delivery would normally come to keep it distracted, or keep it in another room in the property so you've got a physical barrier. If it gets particularly upset by the letterbox rattling, then fit a cage to the back of the door, or consider fitting an external post box. But then we also say to our employees to make sure that they are remaining vigilant, that they keep an eye out for any indication a dog might be there, for things like toys in the garden or signs that might be up, because we do see it very much as a collaboration between us as the organisation and our customers, and the vast majority of our customers are incredibly supportive and really upset if one of their dogs should attack one of our people. And then the final point I would make is just to kind of guard against people thinking it's a particular dog. We talk about it's the deed, not the breed. So you need to be mindful of the fact that what we're not saying is that Alsatians are bad, poodles are good, because they're animals and they are unpredictable. Now, I'm a dog lover, I've got 2 dogs, but I do appreciate there's an unpredictable nature to them, and you just have to remain ever vigilant.
And the issue is saying there, the mental health side of things, the after effect, the trauma, when an animal comes towards you and you can't yell stop, or the dog's not listening in that way.
Yeah, the anxiety is, as you heard from, have you heard from Alan there? He he's very cautious now, and as you would expect. And he said himself he's not naturally a dog person. Imagine how much that's been amplified by the fact that he's been attacked by a dog, and it is something that he will be carrying around with him, and that he'll need to kind of work through. And we would support that through our mental health support.
And Alan, how are things for you now?
Yeah, well, I'm back out in my deliveries now. I'm not delivering to the same area anymore, but that wasn't anything to do particularly with the attack. But as Sean was saying, I'm a lot more wary around dogs than I was before, and particularly when they surprise me. I mean, when you see them, when they're plainly visible, is one thing, but it's when they come bounding round for the back door, or come shooting out the door when you've just chapped the door to deliver a parcel. That's when you're kind of more likely to say or do something that might be a bit maybe inappropriate or something like that. But you just can't help yourself occasionally.
And it's that unpredictability from the dog's point of view, I suppose, as well, that you're the element of surprise.
Oh yeah, because I mean, although say maybe turn up at the same kind of time every day, it's not what we turn up bang on at 11 a.m. every morning. It just depends on various circumstances. So I mean, you can vary at times, up to an hour at times between days of the week, depending on the weight of meal and whatnot.
And it's still very much a job you enjoy, despite this incident that you suffered.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still like getting out. I still like meeting people and getting the fresh air about me.
And you get a good tan at this time of year as well, I presume.
Well,
even up where you are.
Well, this summer it has been. I mean, last summer wasn't so much fun tan wise, but this summer's been good.
And one final question, actually, Alan, because I know quite a lot of people listen to the radio and to us here. How many months of the year do you wear shorts?
Well, me personally, well, I've had shorts on 3 days in the last 3 years.
Oh, really?
No, sorry, long trousers on 3 days in the last 3 years. Right. That was just earlier on this year when it was down to -15.
Yes.
I just thought it was a wee bit too much.
I think you might be right there. Yeah. Alan Quinn, thank you very much for joining us, and Dr. Sean Davis of Royal Mail. Really appreciate your time today. So, Dog Awareness Week, it's really just a time, I guess, for dog owners to think maybe, if there is something they can do to make your job easier and safer.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. We've got something now that we really want you to be a part of, because you could actually help a piece of lasting artwork. Sitting opposite me here is Katie Cardew, who you may well know. You may well have commissioned her to paint your family, paint your house. She's done loads of local landmarks, very famous for doing streets of Stamford and a map of Stamford as well. And she wants to do a map of Rutland, and thought it'd be really nice if she could come on and talk about it, so actually the listeners could be involved, and what actually people say could be what you plot on the map. Now, we're not talking about an Ordnance Survey map, are we? We're talking about something that can be drawn, symbolised, that's easily recognisable.
Yeah, so basically my next project is the Rutland map. I've already done, as you said, a map of Stamford, I've got a world map, a Glastonbury map, and so I thought it was high time that I did one of Rutland. And the maps are full of detail, really bright, really colourful. I try and pack as much as I can into them, but unfortunately at the moment the Rutland map's looking a little bit sparse. So what I thought would be really fun to do is, no one knows Rutland more than Rutlanders do, and I know it's the smallest county in the country, but it's also full of interesting idiosyncratic sort of features. So what I want to do is call on the Rutland Radio listeners to help me fill the map with such fun things and make it the best map of Rutland it could possibly be. So it might be a really interesting building or a point of interest, or even a historical site, historical figures, some unusual wildlife, or even like an unusual tree. Basically just anything that would be really fun and really interesting to fill the map up and make it the best, brilliantest map, so people go, that's Rutland, that's really cool. And I want people to be able to look at it, and every time they look at it, see different things. Emma, my lovely assistant, she lives and breathes Rutland. She came up with a few ideas to kick things off.
Okay.
She said the Rutland Panther, so the legend of the Rutland Panther, the Rutland Dinosaur, which was found in Little Casterton, that I actually had no idea about, the Anglo-Saxon skeleton found at Rutland Water, strawberry picking, red kites. So, yeah, just really interesting things, and I want you to rack your brains. There's no silly suggestions. If I can illustrate it, it will go on the map.
How great is that? Isn't that just wonderful that actually our listeners have got that opportunity to influence something like this? You go to shows all over the place, your work is really well known. How long have you been actually doing all this? You were
Bourne Grammar, and then the King's School in Peterborough for sixth form. I set the business up when I was 22. It's coming up 5 years ago.
In just 5 years, you've become as notorious as you have.
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah. The commissioned work is sort of how I started. So, as you said, illustrating people's homes and families. I do a lot of wedding illustrations, and I had some really lucky breaks with commercial work. So at the beginning, I got commissioned by Waitrose and Estee Lauder, and that helped really launch. It was a real big confidence giver as well. And then the commissions just took off. I don't think there's not many people around doing the commissioned work. And then a couple of years ago, I sort of started growing the print range that I do, the G-Clay print range, and then that's turned into a lovely homewares range. We have a lovely studio in Kingscliff, so there's me, the illustrator, and then I have 3 other girls that work for me, doing everything from the PR to marketing to everything that goes into running a business. Yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty crazy 5 years. I had a daughter nearly 3 years ago as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just been crazy, but I love it. I love going to work every day. It's just so fantastic. And especially a project like the Rutland Map, it's been sort of on my periphery for ages and ages, but now I've actually thought, right, I've got to do this because it's right on my doorstep. I love Rutland. I think it's the most beautiful county, and I'm just really excited to hear what people have to say and get cracking with it. And I can't wait for people to see the result, and hopefully people get sort of invested in it. And then, yeah, I mean, it will be on sale as soon as I finished it. It'll be on our website. We're having an open studio event on the 3rd of August, and we'll have it on display there. So I'd love people to comment and then come along and see the finished product.
So we've got really... And it sounds like we might have 6 weeks. You'll be, just sketching it out on the 1st of August, but it's not like that at all. You want people today to get in touch about what Rutland means to them, I suppose, whether it's Exton Village Green, whether it's the Fat Stock Show in Uppingham, whether it's windsurfing on Rutland Water. It could be anything at all.
Yeah, anything at all. And it might be something that not many people have heard of. It might be something really local, local in your village. And I just want lots of crazy ideas. The maps, if you look on my website, all the maps are on there, especially the Glastonbury map. But you'll see sort of the style that I use, and just how detailed these maps are. I just want to be able to create the best map, and the people of Rutland, I feel can help with that.
Isn't that just the most wonderful opportunity that you've just been handed? So if you'd like to get in touch, you can either contact us via the website, by email, by phone, Oakham 755 888. It's out there on our social media as well, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So please do comment. And you never know, you said if you can illustrate it, will be on there.
If I can illustrate it and it fits and it feels like the right thing to put on the map, then I will put it on there, yes.
Let's guarantee Katie Cardew. Thanks very much for coming in and seeing us at work here.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, your work is just, one of a kind and superb. It really is. So thank you so much for being here today and being part of the show. And thanks for, involving our listeners in this. The Rutland Map. Yeah. Copyright Katie Cardew 2018 could be their work as well.
Exactly, and thank you so much for having me, Rob.
Rutland Radio.
Yes, Stuart Jones, I'm the plant manager here.
And 3 years ago you had the big open day here at Hanson Cement at Ketton.
Yes.
You had thousands of people there then. This is obviously for a very special anniversary and you've got tons of things on.
The list is too long to mention in brief, but we've got steam train rides, we've got diesel train rides, vintage vehicles, we've got a steamroller coming, we've got quarry displays, we've got loads of stalls, we've got agility for dogs. The list goes on, Rob, there's so much happening. It's a family day out. There'll be plenty to do. We've got site tours as well, so people can come and see what we actually do in the cement works, how we make cement. So it's going to be a fascinating day for all manner of people.
And there's the archaeological aspect, there's the environmental aspect, there's the community aspect. And some of this is Ketton Village fate actually here as well.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be part of the community. We're expecting, hopefully, with the weather as it is, some 3,000, maybe 4,000 people to come from all over this community. We're an important part of the community. We want to be helping that community enjoy the day.
This is all free for people to actually get in and experience.
That's the other important thing. Everyone comes in here. We'll have some pots out for them to donate to charity if they so wish. We've got some fantastic raffle prizes, from bikes through to money through to a massive champagne bottle. I just want people to come and enjoy the day and see the plant and think, oh, that's how they make cement. And you know what? The ecological stuff that they'll experience in the quarry, the sustainability stuff that we do, that's all part of making cement. And I want people to be aware of what we do and, as I say, mainly enjoy the day.
And looking back over the 90 years, presumably it's always been on this site. It was Ketco, it's still Ketco Avenue here. There's a lot of history.
There is. I mean, I've done historical talks to various groups. It's fascinating when you think we've been here 90 years, of course, that's what we're celebrating. But there's been stone quarried from this area since the 1600s. You look at Cambridge, you look at Oxford, you look at the houses in Stamford, a lot of stone quarried from this area. So there's a fascinating history with this place. And yeah, 90 years ago we put this plant up and started making cement. So there's a lot of historical facts that people can see as well. I suppose that's the other thing. We've got lots of old pictures and lots of things that people and ex-employees can come and enjoy as well, which will be great for them.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
I'm here at RAF Wittering with Wing Commander Craig Watson. You've got so much going on here today, and it's all about science, engineering and maths, isn't it?
Yeah, so the acronym we use is STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering and Maths. And today we're hosting the national final for a STEM competition called Race for the Line, where young children in Year 7, so just started secondary school, can design, build and then race a rocket-powered car. The kids here today have already been through 2 rounds, so they've been through their school races, they've been through the regional finals, and they're here today at the national final. So we've got 350 kids from across the country competing to be the best team in the country.
Now we're here in the hangar and you've got so many bits and pieces going on. You've got places where people can have a look at some engineering. We've got people over there with some tools making bits and bobs.
So in addition to the actual competition, we wanted to bring science and engineering to life for the kids. So loads of hands-on activities to show them what careers in STEM can look like. And it's really varied. It's everything from medicine to transport to the mobile phones people will have in their pocket. Science and engineering is everywhere. And we do understand that double maths at school can sometimes be a little bit dull for some kids. So it's about bringing that to life. It's about bringing the careers behind that to life and inspiring them to raise their horizons.
And people better watch the skies a bit later on because we're going to have a few fly pasts, aren't we?
Yeah, we're very lucky that as long as the weather and everything else goes well, we've got some superb flying displays this afternoon with a Typhoon fighter jet, the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, one of our own tutor aircraft here that RAF pilots learn to fly on, and the Red Arrows.
Rutland Radio.
Thank you, Sire. I'm at RAF Wittering with Alden Denny Pace, who is from the Learning Partnership. Now, you are behind the race to the line today, which is all about rocket cars, which sounds really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about students designing, building and racing model rocket cars across the airfield here or across their playgrounds in schools in the qualifying stages of the competition.
So it's something that's been done nationwide and all the schools are here today to race them really in the final.
The best schools, so we had 78,000 students from Year 7 across the country take part in qualifying. We've raced over 20,000 rocket cars this year, 400 qualifying events in the secondary schools that took part, into regional finals across forces bases nationally, and this is the culmination of all of that.
How do these model rocket cars work then?
Each team gets a blue foam block as the chassis of the car. They make their own wheels and axles. They have to shape that blue foam block into the most aerodynamic shape they can. We put a 5 Newton thrust rocket motor up the back end. We fire it off down the track.
How quick do they go?
A really well designed one today will probably be doing about 70 miles an hour.
Wow, that's insane. Just
Yes,
for a little rocket car.
For a little rocket car.
RAF.
A badly designed one will do about 25 miles an hour. So there is a big spread between the engineering skills that will be on display today. In fact, most of them today will be in the 70 mile an hour bracket, I would hope.
So this is really cool for the kids, obviously, and they think it's really fun, but there's also a very important element behind it to get them into engineering and science, really.
Yeah, so it's twofold, really. It's both inspiring all students in a year group in a school to engage in these subjects differently. So there are preconceived ideas about science, technology, engineering and maths that most 11, 12-year-olds have. By creating a competition like this, practical learning, team-based learning, competitive activities, you start to change those preconceived ideas. And what we hope is that by running it as a whole year group competition, that year group, as they come up to GCSEs, will be choosing a STEM pathway.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
So here we are at the Danish Invader in Stamford, and we're doing this feature every week, which we had a nomination for concerning you. It says, our landlord of the Danish Invader always goes above and beyond for our community, and this week we're also fortunate enough to win the Stamford Float Parade with an amazing day. He's always planning great events for the local children and charities. This is from Charlie Collins, and you're our hero of the week.
Wow, thank you very much. I'm a bit blown away now.
It's been a bit of a big night for the pub, obviously, with the game on.
Crazy night with the football, and obviously still getting over the weekend, to be honest. I keep looking out my window, I've got a Spitfire in the backyard. That's amazing. I'm blown away. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. I hear you invested quite a lot into that float.
Yes, it was a labour of love. It paid off though. It looked the part. All the bits that it had on the float are going to be fitted around the play area, so you'll see the helicopter, Spitfire and everything for the kids to see, but it was well worth it.
And what about the rest of that, sort of laying on stuff for the community and that kind of thing? I mean, as landlord of this pub here, it's very much part of the community, isn't it? And that's the way you make it.
Yeah, well, we celebrate 50 years this year. We did like a fireworks for the community. We have the Santa's Grotto for all the children. Pretty much any chance we can to put something on for the local children or the schools and bits. We try our best. It looks like it's paid off, so I'm really pleased, so thank you very much.
Rutland Radio.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. Now, this week, of course, is Armed Forces Week, Armed Forces Day this weekend, and the Military Wives Choir new album is released today. It's called Remember, and the lead track is Brave, where the Military Wives choirs from around the country accompany Laura Wright. Now, some of those military wives are from our military wives at Cottesmore, and one of them is Jan Armitage. Thank you very much for joining us. You sang at the launch party.
I did on Wednesday evening. It was amazing. We sang with Laura Wright, Brave, and we also sang one of the other tracks that's been written for us called The Poppy Red.
Which is the one that you performed at Haringworth, wasn't it? Just
That's
a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, beautiful.
So, the Military Wives Choir, how long have you been part of it?
I joined the Cottesmore Choir in June of last year.
So you would never have believed, really, that from June last year to singing in London at the launch party, the album is #1 in Amazon Choral and #2 in Amazon Classical overall.
That's right, hot off the press news today. Fantastic.
Isn't it just? Absolutely. So tell us about singing with your fellow ladies.
We meet every Tuesday evening at Kendrew Barracks, and we're a choir of about 30 ladies. We sing in 3 parts, altos, sop 1 and sop 2, and I have to say, when we're well rehearsed by our MD, Corinna, we make a really lovely sound. And that was apparent when we performed at Haringworth. We were smaller in numbers then, but we were just saying the other night how the choir has come along actually as we've all grown together.
And what do you know about the album you're involved with? Where did that all take place, the recording of it?
The recording took place over 7 venues in the UK in the course of January and February, and involved 75 of the choirs that there are in the Military Wives Foundation now. So there were choirs from the UK and also from some of our bases overseas, Akrotiri in Germany, the Netherlands and so on. It was then, the album was then mixed. It has 1,105 voices on it, which is quite amazing.
Isn't it just? Absolutely, all across 7 venues. So you all had to keep time to the same, and it all kind of, came together in the end. But then a lot of duets in pop music have done exactly the same, where they've had both singers, either side of the Atlantic. So it clearly is something that works.
It does. In fact, at the launch party, our conductor Hilary was saying that the amazing thing from his point of view was that when they put all of the tracks together, actually we were all in time. It meant that there wasn't a huge amount of additional work to be done. So that was fantastic for us.
So just listening to Brave, it's a very emotive song, isn't it? About the military's frontline work.
It is. It's actually The idea behind the album is a commemoration of the end of World War One, and actually the things that connect us from 100 years ago right down today. So everybody who sings in our choir has a connection with the military. My husband was in the military, my son is, and it's actually about the things that those of us who are left behind have to get on with, really. So, for example, my great-grandfather fought in the First World War. He was gassed, sadly, and my great-grandmother nursed him from 1917 until he died in 1931, but still brought up 5 children. And so it's about separation, it's about strong women, it's a lot of things that just resonate, whether you were a wife, a mother, a daughter in 1918, or whether you're a wife, a mother, a daughter in 2018.
And I guess this sort of community singing that has become so much a part of so many lives now, we all have Gareth Malone to thank for it, really, don't we?
I think we do. I think he did an amazing job. He is still a trustee of the Military Wives Foundation. And I think what it does for us all is we all feel better after a good sing-song. There's a lot of good mental health work around the psychology of singing and how it connects us all.
And are you performing fairly locally fairly soon?
We are going to be performing at Greetham Fete on the 14th of July. So I'm sure that we'll be doing one of the tracks that's been written specially for the Military Wives Choir on that day.
What a wonderful project to be involved with. You must be very proud to have played a part.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I think we all would not have dreamt that when we joined the Military Wives Choir we would be involved in making music that would be number 1 in the charts.
Jan Armitage, thank you very much for joining us on Rutland Radio. Let's hear a little of what is number 1 in the choral charts, number 2 in the classical chart at the moment from the Military Wives. Remember, this is Brave.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
So you'll probably be able to hear behind me the gorgeous sound of church bells. And if you just picture the English countryside, little quaint villages like we have in Rutland, church bells, they're part of it, aren't they? It's just part of our British heritage. And with Alan Wordy, who is a bell ringer at St Peter and St Paul's Church in Uppingham, do you think it'll ever be a thing of the past? Because there's older people here today, there's teenagers here today. It's a hobby for all ages.
It's a skill. As well as a hobby, and all ages can do it, and in fact the young teenagers are like sponges and they just can learn 3 if not 4 times faster than the older people like myself.
They'll be great as volunteers because you are looking for people to come and start bell ringing to mark the centenary, the end of World War I in November.
That's right. So Armistice Day, the centenary of Armistice Day at 7:05, over 1,000 towers are ringing out around the country, and we wanted to try and ring every bell in Rutland. Now, there's 186 bells that are ringable in Rutland, and we've only got 110 ringers. So we need all those who used to ring and all those who want to ring. If we can get as many of those bells ringing as possible at 7:05, then actually Rutland's going to be a glorious cacophony of rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's rounds. Nothing more complicated than that. It'll be fantastic.
So it's June now, and the ringing will be in November. So that gives us, June, July, August, September, October, November, about 5 months to get it sorted.
Yes.
How long does it usually take for people to pick up bell ringing?
The sponges, it takes about a month. So if we do it regularly once a week, and we actually do it with the simulator here at Uppingham, so we get a lot of rope time. It's about rope time, and then we slowly take it through. I've got a bit of a program that I work to. We can do it.
And you've also got an event coming up at the end of June in Oakham where people can come and have a look at a bell and see how it works, and maybe they might want to have a go at it.
Absolutely. So Oakham's got the Proms in the Park, and normally I think 1812 Overture has bells, and we try and coordinate the Oakham bells with the orchestra. It never works. What we're doing this time is we've got a little mini ring, and it's going to be down in on the street level, and it is really literally, it's a mini ring. It's like little tin cans moving, and we will ring that to show people how what it's what is happening upstairs when we are handling the ropes downstairs.
So I'm going to have a go at it tonight. First time I've ever done bell ringing, so have you got any tips for me? I'm worried about loosing the rope.
You're worried about losing it. Right. When you're told to let go. And apart from that, just keep your hands moving and keep them coming right the way down, as if you've got change in your trouser pockets and you're making sure it's still there. Make sure your hands drop as low as possible.
Rutland Radio.
Right, so I'm at RAF Wittering. I'm with Niall here from Wittering Primary School. Can I ask how old you are, Niall?
I'm 10.
You're 10, and are you enjoying today?
Yeah.
It's really cool to get out of school, isn't it, and do something different?
Yeah, we get to do a lot of science and have a look at what happens on RAF Wittering.
So do you like science usually in school? Is it one of your favourite subjects?
I wouldn't say so.
So is today giving you a different insight into science?
You get to see what happens to planes and how they build it and how it happens.
And are you excited to see the planes go over a bit later on this afternoon?
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website, rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk.